look at him before he looks away. The tear doesn't fall. The fists tremble without moving. His face, sculpted with the precision of ancient gods, holds none of the fury we expect from the enemy. And yet, that's exactly who he is. This is the fallen angel, painted in 1847 by Alexandre Cabanel, a young French artist who dared to give Lucifer something forbidden. Grace, no horns, no grotesque wings, just grief, disguised in perfection, a gaze that refuses to break. He doesn't beg, doesn't roar. He waits, wounded and radiant, pressed against the edge of heaven's last light, staring at us not with shame, but with something colder. Is it rage? Defiance? Pain sharpened into silence? The questions come quickly. Why make the devil beautiful? Why give the icon of pride such tender sorrow, such flawless anatomy, such presence? Why do we, for one breath, feel drawn to him? Cabanel understood what many feared, that evil doesn't always repel, that sometimes it invites. The painting doesn't scream, it whispers, and the whisper is harder to ignore. This isn't a monster. That would be easier. This is something much closer. Something that almost looks like us. What you're seeing is more than a canvas. It's a confrontation, a quiet reckoning between what we believe and what we feel. The moment you meet his eyes, you are already inside the question. Understanding Lucifer begins here, not with fire or horns, but with the beauty of his fall and the discomfort that beauty leaves behind. He lies like a statue that remembers being divine. His body, luminous and tense, stretches across rock and thorn, not limp, not broken, but held. His wings darken at the tips like smoke. His fists are tight. The pain is fresh. Above him, angels rejoice in brilliant silence. But here, beneath the gleam, he stares at us, not pleading, not ashamed, just watching. This is the fallen angel, painted in 1847 by Alexandre Cabanel, then just 24, not for fame, not for exhibition, but as a required piece sent from Rome to Paris, an academic duty, a test, and yet Cabanel sensed something else entirely, a wound wrapped in beauty. The judges were unsettled. Too dramatic, they said, too personal, too much, but he wasn't trying to please them. He was trying to say something that still hasn't faded. In earlier sketches, Lucifer is bowed, hand to brow, head turned, the posture of surrender. But in the final painting, something changes. He lifts his eyes. He refuses to shrink. That shift, that decision to look back, alters everything. This isn't defeat, it's something in between. A breath held between collapse and retaliation. There are no flames, no horror, only form. Classical, precise, the body of a god, not a demon. This is what makes it difficult. Evil, here, wears the mask of beauty, a mask we're not sure how to tear off. The angels above don't look down. The silence between them and him is cold, deliberate, and in that distance, Cabanel leaves us suspended between sympathy and judgment, between theology and tension. Lucifer hasn't chosen what he'll become, and neither have we. Why does it feel wrong to admire him? That's the quiet trap Cabanel lays, one you don't see coming until you've already stepped into it. The devil, we're taught, should repel us. His image should disgust, disturb, warn. But here, in the middle of this soft, restrained light, he draws us in, not through lies, through beauty. And that's what makes it so unsettling. Because when evil looks monstrous, it's easy to reject. But when it looks like this, elegant, wounded, luminous, we begin to hesitate. That pause, that flicker of empathy, is the center of Cabanel's vision. He wasn't just painting an angel who fell. He was painting the moment when judgment gets cloudy. This idea didn't come from nowhere. Cabanel was reaching back, to scripture, to myth, and to poetry that knew beauty could be a kind of weapon. In the book of Ezekiel, Lucifer is described as perfect in beauty, not deformed, not grotesque. perfect. In Milton's Paradise Lost, he is fierce, brilliant, almost noble, the architect of rebellion who dares to speak against divine rule. Better to reign in hell, he says, than serve in heaven. That line echoes in Cabanel's silence. His Lucifer doesn't speak, but we feel the same defiance burning beneath the skin. This too was controversial. Not just the subject, but the way it was painted. In the 1840s, Romanticism still held power in European art. Audiences were used to seeing drama explode in color, in gesture, in flame. Cabanel refused that noise. His palette is cold, subdued, ashy purples, pale skin, wings darkened at the tips like memory turning into bruise. His emotion isn't screamed, it's contained, clenched in fists, frozen in a glance, held like breath. Some critics saw this as weakness. Others saw it as provocation. How can the devil be so beautiful, they asked. But Cabanel wasn't interested in affirming moral boundaries. He was interested in testing them. What happens when the villain looks like a god? What happens when what we're told to reject appears in the most refined form? He understood that beauty doesn't cancel evil. It complicates it, makes it harder to identify, more difficult to punish. The painting doesn't excuse Lucifer. It exposes the part of us that wants to understand him, the part that looks into those eyes and doesn't immediately turn away. And that's what makes it dangerous, because this isn't a portrait of pity. Lucifer doesn't want your sorrow. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He's asking something quieter. He's watching to see if your certainty trembles, if you hesitate, if even for a moment you forget what he is and wonder what he feels. His beauty doesn't absolve him. It disarms us, and once that happens, the moral clarity we cling to begins to flicker. Understanding Lucifer here isn't about theology. It's about the tension between form and meaning, between what we see and what we fear. The body is flawless, the gaze is fractured, the fall is complete, but the story isn't over. Not yet. Even after the fall, the story doesn't close. Lucifer is still, but not finished. His body lies grounded, but the stillness feels temporary, like breath caught between collapse and decision. The painting captures not an ending, but a hinge, a pause before something sharp begins. Cabanel leaves us there, suspended. The exile has happened. The heavens no longer look his way, but Lucifer's body hasn't surrendered. His gaze hasn't dimmed. This refusal to bow, to break, is what makes the image pulse. And the artist couldn't let go of it either. A year later, Cabanel paints L'Ange du Soir, a peaceful, introspective angel. No rage, no defiance, just stillness. It feels like the echo of the first painting, softened by time, as if Cabanel needed to answer his own question. What happens after the fall, if wrath turns to quiet? Even 2 decades later, in Paradise Lost, 1867, he returns to the moment of expulsion, this time with Adam and Eve. Still, the theme persists. Loss, consequence, the weight of judgment. The violence is gone, but the ache remains. Other artists took different paths. Thomas Lawrence's Lucifer is a shadow general, proud, poised, rallying his army. John Martin's version is apocalyptic, fire, chaos, a kingdom built from ruin. In their visions, Lucifer rises with force. Cabanel's remains alone, not yet rising, not yet broken. So which image is true? A beast deformed by his fall? A ruler in the ashes? Or this, a figure of unsettling beauty, pierced by silence, too human to hate, too proud to forgive? Cabanel doesn't resolve it. He hands us the discomfort and walks away. And perhaps that's the point. When evil is grotesque, we know how to respond. But when it looks like this, luminous, defiant, strangely familiar, we hesitate. And in that hesitation, the painting breathes. A fallen angel carved like a god, a tear that won't fall, a stare that won't break. In The Fallen Angel, Cabanel didn't just paint a myth, he painted the moment we stop being sure. Lucifer here is not grotesque. He's not monstrous. He's beautiful. And that beauty unsettles us because it asks something dangerous. What if the face of rebellion doesn't look like a threat? What if it looks like something we'd protect? Cabanel understood that evil isn't always loud, that sometimes it waits, still, luminous, quiet enough to listen. And in that silence, it tests us, not by force, by closeness. Because the closer we get to the fallen, the more we begin to see ourselves. He painted this at 24 in a city of rules and sent it into a world that wasn't ready, a world that still isn't. The judges wanted discipline. He gave them tension. The painting was never meant to comfort, it was meant to linger. And it does, because it isn't just a portrait of Lucifer. It's a mirror, and whether we admit it or not, something in us recognizes that tear, that pride, that rage held just beneath the skin. So look again, not for answers, but for the moment you begin to hesitate. If you enjoyed spending this time with me, peeling back the layers, catching secrets in the corners, I'd love to see you again. Subscribe to Vellum and come get lost in the next painting with me. And if you want to keep walking the line between what's seen and what's hidden, watch this next story. You'll see why beauty never behaves. Until then, keep your eyes open. Not everything fallen is far from us.